Okay, so I made a mock website on Adobe XD so we can practice our Flexbox layouts. Okay, so we have a div with the class of parent container, and this is where all of our content is going to go within this parent container. So we'll start by making the header, which contains the brand logo at the top of the page. Okay, so let's see if it's on the page. Oh, wrong image, my bad guys. I used the Jumbotron image, it should just be logo. There we go. Okay, so we'll resize this image quickly, and then we will start using Flexbox. So I'm targeting the image, and I'm going to give it a width of 200 pixels. And now I'm targeting its parent container, which has a class of header. I'm going to set its width to 100%. So it takes up the whole width of the page, and then I'm going to set its display to flex, so all the content within the header div will fall under the rules of Flexbox. We'll have to behave within the rules of Flexbox rather. So we'll use justify content, and I want to show you guys here. So justify content will align things horizontally. So by default, it's set to flex start, which means the content will be to the left. If we use flex end, it jumps to the end of the screen on the right side. If we use center, it'll go to the center. Okay? So in our design, we had it to the left. The default value, see if I remove this, it'll still be there on the left. But now just for fun, since we're practicing Flexbox, we'll put it in the center. Okay? Okay, so next we're going to create this Jumbotron section below our header. And we're also going to add a little banner in the center so we can practice Flexbox. So we'll create another div with the class of Jumbotron. And a span tag, which will contain like a little header. Okay, so we made a Jumbotron parent container, and within it we have a span tag which contains a header. So we are going to target the Jumbotron parent container, going to give it a background image, and a height property so it's visible. And let's see how this looks. Oh, perfect. Okay, so now we have to align this heading to be in the center of the page, and we are going to use Flexbox to do this. So we'll set the Jumbotron container's display to flex, and now we're going to use justify content again to align it horizontally. So we'll set it to center, okay? And then we will use align items to align it vertically. So align items center, and we also have flex start, which takes it back to the top, which is its default position, and flex end. See how it goes to the bottom? For now, we just want align items center, okay? Perfect, so let's just give that a little background color so it's a little easier to read. I know it doesn't really matter right now for a Flexbox tutorial, but let's just make it a little bit more legible. And actually, I will use RGBA so I can add a fourth property, which is opacity, and it'll be okay. Doesn't have to look amazing right now. Okay, next we're going to build this navigation menu below the Jumbotron. So we'll give it a class of navbar. We'll have a nav tag within it, and we're going to make some dummy anchor tags that don't link to anything. We'll just say some generic content about us, and we'll just copy this 4 times. Okay, so let's see how this looks so far. It looks terrible, because this is its natural behavior without any styling. It's just crammed here in the corner. Okay? So remember, we made a parent container with the class of navbar. Within it, we have our nav tag with its anchor items. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to target the navbar parent container and give it a height property, just so it's easier to work with and we don't feel like we're crammed in there in the corner. So it has a class of navbar. We'll set its height to 100 pixels. Okay? So it's set to 100 pixels. Now what we need to do is we need to bring the anchor tags to be here in the center of the page. Maybe by now you can guess what flex properties we're going to be using to accomplish this. So we'll set the navbar parent container's display to flex. Justify content, set it to center, because we're aligning things horizontally, and then we have align items to justify things vertically, or to set things vertically to the center. Okay? So now what we want to do is we want to spread out these elements. So to do that, we need to target the nav tag within the navbar parent container div. Okay? So I'm just setting a background color so you guys can see the width of the nav tag. So I'm going to set its width to 100% so it covers the full span of the page, and now we'll have room to move around in. So we'll set its display to flex, and we are going to use justify content space evenly to spread out the tags. Do you see that? Look at that. Look how easy that was. Okay? Justify content is so useful. So you also have space around, spread things out a little more, and then we have space between, and spread things out even more. I like to use space evenly. There we go. I think that looks good. Next, we're going to be building this little bio section that's right below the navigation menu we just created. Okay, so I've created a parent container with the class about, and it will be a parent container to 2 child divs. The first div will contain our little bio section, and the second div, first let me just steal this dummy text and paste it in our bio section. Okay, we don't have to worry about making this pretty right now. And second, in our second div, we will have our image tag. Perfect, okay. So let's see how this looks so far. As you can see, since there's no styling, things kind of just naturally stack on top of each other. So remember, we are targeting the child divs within the parent container with the class of about. So first I'm just going to resize that image really quick. Set it to like 300, a little bigger. Maybe even 500, let's go crazy. Okay, so let's start using Flexbox to align things the way we'd like them to be aligned. So we're targeting the parent container with the class of about, and we're going to set its display to flex. Okay, and see, Flex's default behavior is to align things side by side. Now, if we wanted to align them like they were initially, like one on top of each other, we could use flex direction column to do so, and things will stack on top of each other again. but displays flex direction natural behavior is to do things as flex direction row and align things next to each other. For now, though, we don't need flex direction because its default behavior is flex direction row, which is what we have. Okay? So next we need to target the divs and give them both an equal amount of space on the page. So we're going to set their flex properties to 1 each. So as you can see, now they're both taking up an equal amount of space. And let me just show you guys something really quick. Okay, so I just added a background color to the second div so that you could see the full size of the div. Okay, so as you can see, since we gave each individual div a flex value of 1, they're both sharing the same amount of space. Now, if we give this div nth child 2, so the div on the right, a flex value of 3, it'll take up more space. So the div with the higher flex value is going to take up more room, okay? So for now, we don't really need this. Okay, what I do want to do is I want to align this image to be in the center of its own div. So I'm targeting this div with a pseudo-selector div nth child 2, meaning target within the parent container, target the second child div, okay? So I'm also going to give it a display of flex. I'll set justify content center, and I will use align item center as well to align it vertically to the center. Okay, we need to give it a little bit of margin to the about container so we don't feel so squished. And I previously set some global variable, so don't worry about this. I'm just setting a margin bottom property to like 30, okay? So let's see how we can make this look a little better. I need to add a little bit of padding to the first div, and I'd like to bring this title to the center, okay? So let's apply some padding to the about parent container so we have a bit of space between the edge of the window and our content. So maybe let's add a little bit more even. Let's go crazy and double that. Perfect, okay? So let's bring this to the center. I think it's an H2, right? Okay, and we didn't need flex for that. We just used text align center, which is also very useful. And now we just need the multimedia section below, in which we're going to embed these iframes and use Flexbox to align them beautifully. Okay, so let's create a div with the class of multimedia. And within this div, I'm going to have a span tag that says multimedia. And I'm also going to have a div containing all of our iframes. For now, let's start with 3. Okay, let's see how this looks right now. So let's give it a second. Okay, so it looks horrible. So let's fix this up a little bit. So the first thing we want to do is we want to bring all of our content to the center. We'll set the multimedia parent container's display to flex. So now things are going to be aligned in a row next to each other. We need to fix that and use flex direction. Direction column to stack things on top of each other. And when you use flex direction column, align items now aligns things horizontally instead of vertically like it was doing before. Okay? So let's give the multimedia parent container a bit of padding, so again we don't feel squished. Okay? And we'll also give it a little margin bottom again, so we don't feel squished. And I'm assigning this to a global variable I assigned before, which had like a margin of like 40 pixels, I believe. Okay? So what we want to do now is we want to spread out these iframes, give them a little space. So we'll do that by targeting their parent container, which is a div within the multimedia div. Okay, so class multimedia, div within multimedia, and we'll also use display flex so we can use its justify content property and use space evenly. So as you can see right now, it's not working because right now the width of the parent container div isn't set, so all the items are being squished together. But as we give it the div a width of 100%, they have space to move around. So now our iframes are spaced out evenly. Okay? So let's see what happens if we add another 3. So we'll just paste another 3 and see how this looks. Oh, see, it's overflowing, guys. So there is a really useful property in Flex for when your items become bigger than the space they have. So we're going to use Flex Wrap. And look what this does, guys. As the screen gets smaller, the items try and reposition themselves. Okay? So we'll make this a little prettier. We'll give each iframe a margin so they have some room to breathe. There we go. Look how much better that looks, you guys. And now due to Flex Wrap, as the screen gets smaller, they reposition. And this is how you achieve some responsiveness just using Flexbox. Okay? And that's it, guys. I think we finished our design. All right, thank you for watching.